Hello, my name is Henry Locke and I'm the United Church Chaplain at the University of Victoria. And welcome to this video on learning how to meditate. Now we're in the Multi-Faith Center at the University of Victoria, and on a typical meditation time during the school year, we'll have 20 or 30 or 40 students sit in a big circle in this space and involved in a meditation practice. And so we're here to help you with thinking about meditation and to talk about how to meditate and then maybe have a little meditation session together. And I'm doing this together with my friend Charlotte, and who is a student here at UVic. Maybe you want to say a few things about yourself, Charlotte?
My name's Charlotte McNeil. I'm a student at the University of Victoria. I'm really comfortable in the chapel here. We do meditations twice a week, and currently we're running some Zoom sessions online, and so we do a Learn to Meditate session every Monday and Thursday at 4:30, and I lead the Thursday sessions.
So in the next few minutes, we hope to kind of give you a little bit of a feel for how to meditate and maybe also talk about why meditate. We started this meditation many, many years ago because people were trying to find a way into learning more about their inner space, about their inner reality. In spiritual traditions, we usually use prayer as a way of opening up ourselves to our inner selves in relationship with the sacred reality in which we live and move and have our being. In spiritual traditions, meditation, the prayer of silence, has been used for millennia as a way of entering in deeply into the very presence of the sacred within our own being, within our own hearts. Now, when meditation is practiced in the regular world, the secular world, in the material world, it often comes with all kinds of prescriptors of why it is beneficial. One of the reasons that meditation seems to be so beneficial is that it helps us slow down and become more present and more relaxed and more balanced. Meditation seems to have this neurological response that allows us to find stillness in the midst of a very complex and busy world. Our minds are usually racing from one thing to the next thing, and we're busy with it all the time. And it's so good to be in a meditation practice where we can actually slow things down and open up in this deep stillness within our own being. It helps us deal more effectively with the stress of being in our very busy world. It also opens us up to inner awareness. We become more aware of who we are from the inside out because we're paying attention to what's going on inside. We are paying attention to our thoughts, our feelings, our sensations as they arise within our meditation practice. And we do this in a very intentional way. It doesn't mean that we're not aware of our thoughts and feelings and sensations in other contexts, but in meditation, we actually explore this inner world that is always present with us with a very clear intention and attention. Meditation also allows us to connect in with the deeper sense of the sacred within our own being. The presence of God, if you want to think about it in that way, or the presence of Source. That within us, which is always present, from which we're never separated, but is often separated from our awareness. In meditation practice, whether or not in Eastern tradition or Western traditions, in Buddhist, Hindu practices, in Christian and Sufi practices of silent prayer or meditation or contemplations as it's known, is a pathway that leads us into awareness of that sacred reality within our own being. The point is, not to work at it too much, not to have that as being the focus. I'm going to do meditation because I want to be enlightened right now, or I want to have that powerful connection with God or spirit or the divine or right now. It doesn't quite work that way. Meditation is really a pathway that prepares the mind and our hearts and our whole being for making that deep connection with the divine presence. So, we're going to talk a little bit about how to do meditation in a few moments. But I just want to add whatever you have to say about the benefits of meditation. Why do we meditate? What do we do?
Yeah, and it's a great question. And it definitely is important to think about because meditation seems to take a lot of diligence and a lot of discipline. And it can be quite difficult, I find. I think if anyone's ever tried meditating before, you'll probably notice that a lot of challenges come up. So it's difficult to sit still for a long time. It's difficult to be aware of your mind. The mind can be so busy, can encounter confrontations and just challenges in your mind. And yeah, it's really important to be open to encountering these challenges and to be non-judgmental and to hold space for them and to make space for them, because oftentimes we're running away from our challenges and we're running away from...
Well, I think we've often just faced with these challenges and we try to respond to them or deal with them. And often we either become obsessed about something, we want to think about more, or we run away from it. Like you say.
Yeah, that's a good point. We run away or we become really reactive. And so I guess meditation is sort of like a buffer between the external world and the internal world. And the buffer is important to allow for non-reactivity. Instead of responding emotionally to stressors that happen in our lives, we can respond with mindfulness and sort of like a slow, rational state of being. And meditation is also really helpful in, as Henry said, connecting with the divine or God or source or whatever term resonates best with you for that. And it's an infinite source of energy, and it's always there and it's always available to you. Whereas a lot of the things in our lives that give us immediate pleasure are not always available, like resources and food and entertainment, and these things are very finite as opposed to the infinite energy that you can tap into through simply breathing.
So we'd like to just give you a very basic meditation practice, and just feel into it, hear what goes on, and see if you can apply it to your own practice, your own life. So one of the first things in meditation is how you sit. There's a meditation pose. Now, we're sitting on cushions. We have meditation cushions that we're sitting on right here. You can do the same thing sitting in a chair. You could even do it lying down, but my experience is if you lie down and meditate, you end up falling asleep. Because the body kind of knows, if I lie down and close my eyes and rest for a moment, that's time for sleep. So that's why we try to have a meditation pose that allows us to kind of maintain alertness in our body, but also allows us to relax into our bodies.
Yeah, and the upright posture is really important also for opening your nasal passages and your airways. So allowing space for the abdomen to expand and the chest to open up so that you can really breathe properly. And I find a really good way to do that is to center your ears over your shoulders and then also center your shoulders over your hips. So you can lean forward a little bit to get into that posture or whatever feels most comfortable for you. And then, focusing on the breath is a really key aspect of meditation. And we do that by getting rid of distractions, so creating a space where you can be quiet and centered and still. Closing your eyes might feel comfortable for you. So we're going to practice maybe 5 minutes or so of a meditation here, so you can try it out. So getting into that posture and feeling erect and noticing how the spine holds you up. And the spine is so supportive, and your head kind of just floats over your shoulders. And then just taking a really big breath into your belly and feeling the chest expand and the shoulders open up and the armpits open up. And really making space into the heart here, because another important aspect of meditation is focusing on the energy of the heart and the electromagnetic frequency of the heart, which actually extends up to 60 times greater than that of the brain, apparently, which is pretty amazing how powerful the heart is, because it needs to pump all the blood through your lungs so that you can oxygenate it. And that's what we focus on with the breath. So just feeling the air go through your nose and down your throat. And see how far into your body you can breathe. So breathing into the fingers and the toes. And breathing into the top of the head. And even beyond the crown of the head, you can imagine some expansiveness there as you breathe. And as you pay more attention to the breath and to the heart, you can feel maybe a bit of a tingle or like a warmth. You can imagine this warmth beginning in your center, in your heart, and sort of expanding through the rest of your body with the breath. And notice how each breath you take is slightly different from the one before it. And as you breathe here, you might notice distractions come up. Like you might notice maybe your foot starts to go numb as you sit, or you're thinking about what you're going to do with the rest of your day, or tasks that need to get done. But the other important thing about meditation is that you dedicate the space and the time to focus on nothing else, so that you can let go of all the stress that impedes us. And so we'll give you an opportunity here to just sit for 5 minutes and just notice the breath and see what that feels like. And just see what comes up in a non-judgmental way. And just keep breathing and just keep focusing on the warmth of the heart. Now I invite you to bring your attention back to the space behind your eyes and to your heart and to your breath. Namaste. Thank you for joining us in a meditation.
Namaste. Well, what happens when your mind is so full of thoughts that you can't find that stillness?
Good question.
Your mind is just continuing to race in the silence and, oh no, there's no way I can meditate. There's too much stuff in my brain.
It's a common feeling, hey?
It's interesting because it's a very common experience. And when that happens, just be very kind to yourself. And say, oh, okay, notice what I'm thinking. What is it that I'm thinking about? What I'm feeling anxious about? Just notice it. And notice the thought or the feeling or the sensation just to coalesce in your awareness. Oh, I'm feeling anxious about that list of stuff that I need to do. This is how anxiousness feels. Interesting. And then in meditation, instead of trying to think more about it, you kind of let it go. And then you return to the breath and allow the breath and the sensation of the breath to guide you into this deeper inner space of intentional awareness. Open up to the next moment. In the next moment, we'll have another thought, another feeling, another sensation arise. Notice it arise, hold it there in kind of compassionate awareness, and then let it go, and return again to the breath. And let the breath lead you into this inner silence. That actually opens up the energy of the heart. That actually opens us up to the presence of the sacred. In our tradition, Christian tradition, the heart is often that organ in which we communicate with the divine. But we have to kind of come from our mind and allow ourselves to drop in, usually through silence, into that very presence of the divine within us. We often end up our meditations with a little phrase or a little line that comes from Psalm 46 out of the Hebrew writings. And the poet there talks about their spiritual connection with the divine. And there's a voice. Sometimes it can be my own voice in these lines, or it can be the voice of the divine. Hear what we do with it. The line is, "Be still and know that I am God." Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be. It's a wonderful flow that allows us to go from the space of doing, activity, the divine activity around us, and allows us to let that go until we just are in being as opposed to doing. It's a cone that we use to remind ourselves that this is the pathway into the very heart of the divine. Thank you very much for leading us and being part of this meditation time. There will be some information on how to connect in with us and do a regular practice. Normally, we don't do a 5-minute meditation, we do a 20-minute meditations of silence, so we really allow ourselves to enter into this deep stillness. And there's some information at the end of this video that you can access. We have a Zoom meditation that we do out of the Multi-Faith Center here. We do actually have 5 meditation times, 5 times a week. You can access that and can join us on Zoom. And if you're in Victoria and are near the Multi-Faith Center, you can join us during those times in person when we sit together here in this space and meditate. So thank you for joining us and learning a little bit about Learn to Meditate. Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you, Henry.
We'll see you again.